Hello, adventurers, and welcome back to the Legend of Kelamentura recap series. This time we are recapping session number 20, which I've called Pin Down. Funny enough, because last we left off at the end of the last session, the most of the party were in fact pinned down by a sniper. So, makes sense to me. so, uh, so yeah, like I said, so you can picking up right where we left off last time. Last session ended with Achilles being gunned down by the sniper as he darted from cover to cover, was picked out and just dropped. Picked up Russ basically kind of times immediately after that. So Achilles slumps to the ground, hits the deck. Everybody in the party hears this, sees this, and as soon as this happened, there's a moment that stretches on for eternity. There's a moment that stretches on for eternity. And then there's a rending of reality as portal is ripped open in the sky, and a giant eagle descends through the space in the portal into the material plane. The giant eagle being the wild-shaped form of Lorilla, the furball druid, who the PC was actually the player was able to join us for the first time in a while. So that was their dramatic entrance to come down to the aid of their fallen party member and friend. So at that point, we then rolled initiative, and I'm going to go through everything. It's supposed to play-by-play here, going through my notes. So, Eagle smashes into the material plane, and Bjorn at this point is up underneath where the sniper's nest is. He's in cover beneath the sniper's nest. Bjorn calls out to the party that, "Oh, I've got this. I've got the sniper," and turns and starts to scale the cliff. Rolled a pretty good athletics check, and with haste just sort of got his way up. Rolled a perception check as well, and spotted the sniper, who was shaded and hidden within a pillbox. Like a natural pillbox. It was in the cliff face. Spotted the sniper, clambered in through the slit in the rock, and disarmed the sniper. Was able to get the rifle away from him, throw it off to one side where it slammed into the stone, discharged, but didn't hit anybody, thankfully. And then, and then tried to grapple and hold down the sniper. They couldn't do anything else. Sniper's pretty dexterous fellow, was able to wriggle out of that and avoid it. So that was that. And then next up was Ariadne. She was actually able to join us this session. She was back with the rest of the most of the party back at the mouth of the valley, and she seen Achilles go down, and goes, "Oh fuck," sort of panic sets in, darts up the valley, runs up to Achilles' unconscious body, kind of picks him up and starts cradling him in her arms, and pulls out her canteen and starts pouring water down his throat, trying to clean him up or get him back or whatever. It's just trying to do something in the blind panic, really. And then Lorilla, in her eagle form, heard Bjorn calling out that he could do this. Eagle wheels around and full on dashes back towards where Achilles is. There's a very dramatic, superhero skid landing in the snow, kind of going from eagle form to furball form, and then skidding to a stop in the snow, and at a distance using her bomb of the summer court, and then giving, I think it was 22 points or something. I can't remember what the heal was, but basically was able to heal Achilles from a distance, who was brought back to consciousness. Sudden sharp intake of icy cold breath, and chunks of the water that he's being poured down his throat by Ariadne, splutters and coughs, gets to his feet, turns to Ariadne and says, "Thanks for that," turns and just immediately just carries on charging up up towards where the sniper was, and where Achilles is, and not quite sure if what he's seeing is real or a vision or what the fuck's going on. Low, for the entire encounter, Low stays back at the mouth of the valley with the wounded legionaries. He's just finished casting was it Layman's tiny hut? Set up his aid stations, kind of dealing with the soldiers. None of whom were on death's door, but they've taken a few hits, few ricochets and what have you. But after he hangs fire, And Duchess, seeing everything going on ahead, goes, okay, well, I'm going to go run on and try to be of some assistance. So she breaks cover and runs up and starts to catch up with everybody else. Back in the bunker, back in the pillbox, rather, the sniper, who at this point been disarmed of the rifle, was basically told by Bjorn to, fucking just surrender and come quietly. Sniper went, nah, fuck you, drew a hidden pistol, and Bjorn at this point still had Sanctuary cast on him. So, Sanctuary, and he's a pretty high level, he's a decently high, he's a max level fighter, to be brutally honest, gunslinger type thing. So there's 4 attacks, and, I think with Sanctuary, only got through 2 of them. Got 2 of the attacks through. And on both attacks that went through, I think it was the second and the fourth. Second one, so the first one failed the save and throw for Sanctuary. Second one succeeded and rolled stupidly high to hit. And forced a strength saving throw from Bjorn to disarm him, who dropped the shield. Failed the wisdom save in the third attack. Fourth attack succeeded. And burned a grit for advantage. Got a crit. And then, which would have been pretty nasty. Would have been pretty not fun for Bjorn. Who then used his sorcerer's ability. I can't remember. He calls it Fight Fair, but it's some actual clockwork sorcerer ability he used to. Nah, fuck that. You don't have a you don't. It's supposed to stop if you're rolling with advantage or disadvantage. It's supposed to stop that happening. You're kind of in the moment. Okay, I was like, okay, fair enough. I'll roll once more, and if it hits, it hits. If it basically trying to negate the crit, didn't crit, still hit, and he failed again on the save. So he dropped the shield, dropped the warhammer. Sniper picked up his rifle and then just fucking ran, just bolted down this tunnel. God knows, heading deeper into the mountains. At this point, Bjorn gave chase and pretty quickly caught up to the sniper, still being hasted and what have you, and then took a massive hammer blow trying to okay, this guy's a sniper, he's a rifleman, he needs his arms. Took his hammer and just crack, got him right on the elbow as he was flaying, and effectively dislocated the elbow. Kind of the arm, as I said, it's hanging in a very uncomfortable and strange looking manner to the side, kind of limp. So his left arm was crippled, if you will. That ended. There was that, a few of the bits that he did, and that was his turn. Back in the valley, Lorilla met up with Ariadne and Achilles. Conversation was had by all of them. Lorilla decided to use, when it wild shaped back into an eagle, picked up Achilles and Ariadne, and then the two of them were going to fly back up to the sniper's nest. So again, Lowe and Duchess are still kind of hanging back. Duchess is trying to get caught up, and Lowe is still back with the soldiers. At this point, the sniper has turned around, drawn his pistol again on Bjorn, with a gun in Bjorn's face, asks him in a terrible French accent, which I'm not going to try to do again, are you from the court? Did Drevis send you? Bjorn was like, what? Confused, said no, and then rolled a history check to go, who the fuck's he talking about? I think he rolled a 14 or 15, and I was like, okay, with a 14, based on the name, the court, which is not Manchurian, then look at this, now that you're up close, you can look at his attire, his dress, I kind of go, wait a minute, that's definitely not Manchurian. The court, that sounds like the dynasty. So kind of got the hit this guy might be from the Salazan dynasty. I was like, okay, that's figured out where he was from. And then says to him, no, we're not from there. Sniper had a moment, paused, backed off, and says, okay, fine, let's talk. Holster the weapon. And at this point, there was a whole, okay, fine. You're not here for me. That's fine. We'll talk. Everybody then reconvened back down at the legionary camp at the mouth of the valley and had a bit of a chat. At which point, everyone's sitting down talking to Achilles, who previously had picked up a rifle that he is dubbed Bad Idea. Took it off the back, and then sitting with a sniper. There's a bit of a tense moment where the party weren't quite sure how to do this, and Achilles kind of, took charge and went over to the sniper and put it in his hand and says, "Good shot, old chap," effectively. Kind of cut to the tension. I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're a help. I appreciate the skills you have. You brought me down. You beat me that time, but yeah, fair. Kind of cut the tension. And they sort of sat down around the campfire. You kind of, okay, we're going to take a long rest and sort the shit out in the morning, but, you're not going anywhere. So while around the campfire trying to, figure their shit out, sat down talking to Achilles, pulled the rifle out and sort of, well, you're clearly quite good at these things. What can you tell me about it? At which point the sniper turned, looked at the rifle, had a sort of a warm smile, and said, "Oh God, I haven't seen one of my Mark 1s for a long time." At which point the party went. Bjorn was like, "Sorry, what? Your Mark 1s?" Like, "Yeah, let me see the rifle." Flipped it over, and in front of the trigger guard, there's a little small decorative plate upon which was the engravings M. Lee. At which point the individual introduced themselves as Baron Machu Lee of the Salazar dynasty. He's effectively one of the greatest weaponsmiths who has ever lived. As I described it to someone I was talking to, he's basically the John Moses Browning of Kelamentura. So yeah, they met John Moses Browning. He's been responsible for pretty much every development in firearms technology for the last 50 years. Because firearms exist in Kelamentura. And basically Lee has taken them from very simple, smoothbore, muzzle-loading, flintlock musket type things to effectively what is like World War I era rifles, where you have very precise, accurate, bolt action rifles. That's at the current peak, and you have single shot breech loaders. So we're kind of talking, the Car 98K, Mosin Nagant, Springfield trapdoors. But that's the kind of, even the Krag Jorgensen might actually be a better better example to use. But that's kind of what rifle technology is in Kelamentura, and this fella Lee has been responsible for pretty much all of that. Self-contained cartridges, all the rest of it. At this point, the party then Bjorn in particular is kind of like, oh fuck, we just effectively met Mozart, and I threw his gun on the ground. Oh God, I feel like a dick. It's like a little moment like that. Had a little inspection of Achilles' weapon. I looked it over, so it's in decent condition. Opened it up, and oh God, this thing needs cleaned. And he's just, oh God, this thing is terribly. And he sort of moved it towards Achilles to show him what he was talking about. And Achilles went, "What do you mean?" And stuck and put his head in front of the barrel, showing that he knows nothing about firearms. Lee was like, "What the fuck?" And he freaked the fuck out. I was like, "Oh God, you really do know nothing about these things." He's like, "Not really, no. I've only picked this up a few weeks back. I don't know what I'm doing." And Lee was like, "Okay, fine, I'll teach you," which he did the next morning. So then, a bit of a chat about that back and forth. Next morning, everybody had a long rest, and we all leveled up. So the party is now level 12. Yay. I'm dealing with a few bits and pieces of that today, people asking questions and what have you, but now we all got to level 12. Oh, excuse me. At which point Lee had a sort of a better conversation with the party. He had kind of disappeared with a bunch of the soldiers at one point and came back with all of his equipment. He went back to where his cave was and came back with, his gear and whatever else he had brought with him. And this satchel of this small satchel that had a number of journals in it. He kind of set it to one side. Was chatting with the party and said that he had traveled from the dynasty to Iceborne as part of his work and research onto this continually improving the firearms. Because like I said, at the moment, the peak of technology is the equivalent of a bolt or lever action. Lee was trying to make a self-repeating semi-automatic rifle. And he succeeded. He came to Iceborne seeking some information, which was clearly in these journals, which is something to do with Thrain, so the party are now going to bring the journals back to Thrain. There's some information in the journals that Lee needed took the information, was able to complete the design, had to do this prototype semi-automatic rifle, and then completed it, tested it, and then was sort of immediately filled with this, oh fuck, what have I done? Why have I done this? Oh no, I should never have done this. Immediately was racked with guilt at the realization of, okay, rifles, he's like, okay, this is my work. And rifles are terrifying weapons, and I've just suddenly made them that much more deadly. Oh god, no. And basically in a fit of guilt, and self-loathing, fucked off and has been hiding in the Icepicks for an unspecified amount of time, but has been hiding out for a while in sort of self-exile, hiding away from this Drevis person who he said was his supervisor. And Drevis was a member of the Empress May Salazan's court over in the dynasty. So the party then realized that, yes, Lee did shoot at them and panicked, and this isn't a panic. I thought you were coming from me. I thought you were part of the court. That's why I reacted. Terribly sorry. You're realizing that Lee, he just wants to be left alone. He just wants peace. He just wants to, I don't want to deal with any of this. I feel bad for what I've done. I just want peace. I want redemption. Lo, hearing the word redemption, and went, oh, okay, you're looking for peace and quiet and to be left the fuck alone. He's like, yeah, preferably somewhere that has no ties to, the council, the republic, or anything, because I just don't want to be picked up on or, spotted. At which point Lo spoke to him about the village that he comes from. This small, I'm not really quite sure where it is. We haven't really discussed about it, but Lo, being a drow, it's probably somewhere in the Underdark or somewhere very secluded and quiet, that is filled with followers of Elistre, who Lo worships. Talk of a secluded, remote village and redemption, piqued Lee's interest, and says, okay, tell me more. The two had a conversation, and ultimately Lee decided he was going to go off and stay there, somewhere that he would be out of the way, and, there'd be no ties to any politics that would drag him back out. And then later on that same day, while the party was kind of just talking among themselves and getting ready to journey back to Iceborne, or for the soldiers to go back to Fort Titan, Lee sat with Achilles and gave him an expert crash course on how to use, shoot, and maintain the rifles. Effectively, 30 minutes. It's about if you're a fan of martial arts and having a time machine and having a 2-hour session with Bruce Lee, he imparts all of his knowledge and all of his skill upon you. It's kind of the Matrix download of data, effectively. Which, as I said to Achilles, that because he is literally the inventor and an expert, you spending some time with him, he now has proficiency with firearms. So one party member now has proficiency in firearms. And he then asked the party to go back to Iceborne. Can you bring this satchel of journals back to Thrain? Tell him I'm sorry for, disappearing with them and tearing out some of the pages. I don't want anybody else to make this, so say I'm sorry. And the legionaries then left, but Lo gave the legionaries a Yeti pelt and says, when you guys get back to Fort Titan, there should be a legionary there called Anthony. Find him, tell him that his brother Tony sends his regards, hands over the Yeti pelt. It's a callback to previous sessions. Few days travel, uneventful, party gets back to Iceborne. Welcomed back by Brogmere, says thanks them for dealing with the Yeti. Oh, so good to see you. Everything's been great. We're indebted to you guys. Thanks so much. Lo went off, took more Yeti pelts, went to see Tony, the town guard, gave the pelts, told him we've met up with legionaries and they're already on the way back to Fort Titan with the pelts, with the message that you've killed it. And Tony was pleased as punch, as happy as a pig in shit, and was like, thank you, I finally got one up on my smug older brother. Lorilla and Ariadne then decided to go off and visit the Temple of the Pure Ones, with prayers and offerings and thanks for your safe journey and return to the safety of Iceborne. And the two of them had a little, RP moment, a little chat back and forth about, having to look after each other, looking after the party and kind of feeling a bit like an outsider and, not quite sure what to do, but, they're glad to be here and just hope to be helpful and talk about being lonely and whatever else. And Lorilla says that, I don't know how much longer I'm actually going to be here, but, I'm glad someone else is here to look at. I'm glad there's someone else here. And you know what? So you don't feel so lonely. Give Ariadne the owl bear plushie that Lorilla had won back in Ventura. And pause. And the party then will reconvene back in the last hearth. Sat down, had a lunch, sit down with a drink, decompress, and talked about what their next steps were going to be. Recalling back to previous conversations, the fishermen had problems, were attacked by some sort of sea monster, went down, spoke with the dockmaster, saying that he believes, speaking with the people who have the survivors of the attack, based on what they've told him and Rhodey's own experiences, that the attacks, there's some sort of a sea serpent is involved. And when asking about how to deal with sea serpents, they were basically told that try to keep your distance as much as possible, and don't let them get a hold of you, because if they get a hold of you, they'll drag you off the ship, and then that's kind of game over. But if you're going to be heading out that direction, I would advise you to go speak to the crew of a ship called the Audacity. They're former Manchurian Navy. They're a bunch of tough old salts, tough bastards. They'd be the ones who would be able to give you the best passage back to where these attacks have been happening. And if you're going to go up against these things, they're the people I'd want to have my back. There's also talks about getting magic items to help the party, with like water breathing or the likes, which Rhodey was unable to help with. It says Thrain might be your best bet for that. And then also Lowe mentioned like siege weapons, like deck-mounted weapons for the boat, which Rhodey says, I think we have a few of those in storage. If you guys are going to go out and head this way, I'll start asking questions. You guys let me know if that is what you want to do, and we'll get it arranged. So things are being set in motion in that regard. Then okay, we'll have to go speak to Thrain now. Went back to the last hearth, got cleaned up, and a few more drinks, a bit of food. Sent word to the keep. Runner came back and says, "Oh yeah, Thrain can't come down. He's incredibly busy, but by all means, go up and see him." Went up after dinner and drinks and whatever else, and sat with and came and saw Thrain, who is sat in like the throne room / courtroom of the keep, behind a desk that is just covered in paperwork. The running of this place. Thrain sees the party, throws his quill down, goes, fuck this, I'm taking a break. All right, come on, you lot. Oh, my friends are back. Happy days. Come sit and drink with me. I need a break from all of this. Tell me what happened. Tell me everything, please. I need an escape from this paperwork. And then also as a in payment for dealing with the Yetis, they got, I think it says 2,500 gold. Like, that's for services to Iceborne. Thank you so much. Now please tell me more. And that was the end of the session, because that was like, we've been playing for several hours at that point. It was, this chat with Thrain might go on for a bit, so I'm going to pick up next session. It's kind of this debrief with Thrain about the party's adventures in the mountains, and talking about their next steps and who they met and everything else. But yeah, that was a real good session last night. Really enjoyed having Lorilla back with us, even for one session. Hopefully they can get back for more in the future, but sure, we'll see. And I hope you guys are enjoying the recaps, and looking forward to the next session, which will be in a couple of weeks. We'll see when that's actually going to be, but yeah. So, until next time, adventures. Bit of a long one today, 24 minutes at the moment. There's a lot happened last night. So yeah, until next time, adventures, stay safe, and see ya.